German relative pronouns. In today's video, I will show you all the different forms of relative pronouns that exist. I will show you how to pick the correct form, and I will show you how to determine the correct case of the relative pronoun. Hi, my name is Jan and I'm your German teacher here on EasyDeutsch, your YouTube channel for German grammar. Today's topic is German relative pronouns. Relative pronouns, those are, for example, der, die, das, yes, like the definite article, but also welcher, welches, welchem. Those are relative pronouns. And we will switch now into my ebook, German Grammar Explained Easily, and I will explain you everything you have to know about German relative pronouns. So we're here now in my ebook, German Grammar Explained Easily. Today's topic is relative pronouns. So let's go to the pronouns. There we have it. And let's zoom in. We start with what is a relative pronoun. So a relative pronoun always starts a relative clause. If you want to know what's a relative clause, follow the little I, the info part in the upper right corner of your video. There you will find the video about relative clauses. And as a short version of this, a relative clause gives an additional information to a noun. So relative pronouns start those relative clauses. And of course, you have to decline a relative pronoun. And you have to do it like always according to the gender. So masculine, feminine, neuter, singular or plural. And obviously the case of the relative pronoun. So you have different forms of them. Obviously, you have them all in the four cases, but there are some that look like the definite articles. You can see here the der, die, das relative pronouns have the same declension in nominative, in accusative, in dative singular, but they're different in genitive and in dative plural. Not very different. You only have to know that they always get the ending en, but you add the en to the regular definite article form. So here you simply use the definite article form, but in genitive and dative plural, it would be den, but we use denen. And in genitive, you have to make it a double S, because otherwise you would have to pronounce it differently. That's why we have to use here dessen with a double S. But here again, it would be der, so we use deren. We simply add an extra en there to the end. But those are not the only relative pronouns that exist. There are also relative pronouns with welche and the ending according to the definite articles. You can see here the endings are 100% like the endings of definite articles. It would be der, das, die, den, das, die, dem, der, den, des, der. So the endings are never new. It's according to definite articles. And you can usually use this one or this one. It makes no big difference which one you use, but I would say this one is more common. But depending on the region maybe, or depending simply on the person, you will also hear this version. They are both 100% correct. But you might want to know how to determine which one you actually have to use. So is it der, die, das? Which ending you have to use there. So let's have a look at an example. Das ist der Mann, der einen Ferrari hat. So we have the relative clause here, because the relative clause gives additional information to something. Here, in this case, Mann. So it's not any man. It is the man that owns a Ferrari, that has a Ferrari. And there we have the relative pronoun der. So the first question you always have to ask yourself to which noun does the relative pronoun refer to? So der Mann. We give additional information to the man. Then you check what is the gender and the number of the reference word. So the thing or the person we give additional information to. It's masculine and singular. Man, der Mann is masculine and singular. Third thing, you have to figure out the case. The case has nothing to do with the case of the reference word. That is the case that the pronoun has in the relative clause. So in our case, it is nominative. So here, der einen Ferrari hat. Why is that nominative? I will come to that very shortly. Just bear with me. Here, we determined it's there because it's masculine, singular, and nominative. And keep in mind, we had here masculine, singular, nominative is there. You could also use welcher. So you could also say, das ist der Mann, welcher einen Ferrari hat. Sounds a little bit more fancy. It's definitely less common. So it also could happen that there is a preposition involved. Because sometimes you have sentences like this. Da kommt der Bus, auf den wir schon so lange warten. There we have an auf in front of the relative pronoun, and this is due to this. Because we can always separate this into two different sentences. Da kommt der Bus, wir warten schon so lange auf ihn. And in the moment we replace this, or we refer to this with an auf, because it's warten auf in the relative clause here, we have to put the preposition here in front of the relative pronoun too. Sounds complicated, but it's easy. Simply separate the sentences. If you're not sure, make it two sentences. If you use it here, wir warten schon so lange auf den Bus, then you have to use the auf here too. Same in the next example. Dort ist die Schule. Ich bin früher in diese Schule, in die Schule gegangen, in sie gegangen. So we have in front of the thing we replace, Schule. Dort ist die Schule, in die ich früher gegangen bin. Because we use the in here in front, we have to use it in front of the relative pronoun too. And now I promised you that I will show you how to determine the case of the relative pronoun. That you have to do in the same way like you can figure out if there is a preposition in front of it or not. You simply make it two sentences. This means you put the reference word back into the relative clause. Das ist der Mann, der einen Ferrari hat, or das ist der Mann hat einen Ferrari. You can probably guess why we're doing all this. It's like the same with all the pronouns. We want to avoid repetition. But if you want to figure out the case and you're struggling to figure it out from that version, simply put it back in here. Der Mann hat einen Ferrari. Now, it should be very obvious that this is the subject, so it's nominative. That's why this one has to be nominative too, because we're replacing this, der Mann, with the relative pronoun. Let's have a look at the same example in different cases to make it obvious for you. So we have the first example here. We explained that already. And the second example, das ist der Mann, den wir gesehen haben. So that's the man whom we have seen. So if we put Mann in here again, wir haben den Mann gesehen. So it would be den Mann gesehen, direct object, who have we seen, accusative. So that's why den wir gesehen haben. Also, das ist der Mann, dem der Ferrari gehört. So that's the man to whom the Ferrari belongs. Der Ferrari gehört dem Mann. It's dative because gehören wants it like this. It's a dative verb. If you want to know more about dative verbs, I link the video for you in the info cards. And we also have the genitive version. Das ist der Mann, dessen Ferrari kaputt ist. So that's the man whose Ferrari is broken. So here, der Ferrari des Mannes ist kaputt. It's a noun construction. More about noun constructions you will find in my video about genitive. I will link that for you here too. So you can see here, by simply putting the reference word back into the relative clause, you can figure out which case is it. And if you have a general problem with German cases, I will link my whole playlist about German cases here for you too. There you can start from the first video and go through all of them, and then I'm pretty sure you understood how German cases work. You will also find a simple step-by-step guide that shows you which steps you have to take in order to figure out the correct case at all times. If you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to write them in the comments below. I always try to answer them all. Also, if you like to support me, a like and a share of my video is great support, as well as subscribing to my YouTube channel. But you can also support me by buying my ebooks. You will find the links to my ebooks in the video description right below the video on YouTube. You will find several different ebooks there about prepositions, cases, connectors, also many exercise ebooks. So you find hundreds of pages with exercises so that you can actually practice what you learn in all of my videos. So if you want to support me, you will find the links there. And if you buy more ebooks together, you can save more money. And I hope you've learned a lot today and that I will see you again in one of my next videos. And until then, viel Spaß und Erfolg beim Deutschlernen.